Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm going to show you a quick review of how to look at student data on LinkIt to be able to see some student scores as you start the school year off and are trying to get a little bit of a profile of your student roster. So you're going to start by accessing the LinkIt website, which if it's not bookmarked to you, which it should be, in sparta.org bookmarks, but it's sparta.linkit.com/account/login. You're going to log into the platform. And you may notice that things look a little bit different. They're redesigning their features, but they're the same features. You just might access them in a slightly different way. So instead of these icons being at the top, right now you can see that they come down on the bottom or in a column here. So I'm going to select reporting, and I'm going to go to the dashboard. And when I get to the dashboard, on the screen, there's a lot of different filtering you can put in to see student information, but really the easiest way, I think, is just to go to the Select Data button. And this is really how you can determine what information you want to see about your students. I am going to make sure this data is anonymous. I'm not sure if you have that feature, actually. You may or may not, but it doesn't really matter. You want to see your actual student data. I just don't want to show you examples of student data through this model here. So I'm going to go back and select the data, and you're going to notice that automatically these 2 school years, these are the last 2 school years, they're automatically selected. If you don't want to see student data back 2 school years, you could just maybe just want to see student data from last year. So you can leave this selected and you can uncheck that. To activate that, you just hit apply. And now what you see in your boxes on this side of the screen will only be student data from the 22-23 school year. You can close that and move it out of the way if it's helpful. And you'll also notice that I can see a lot more data. So I have pages and pages. You won't have quite as many, but there's still these filter features that might be helpful to you. So I'm going to pretend that I'm a 6th grade language arts teacher, and I'm going to filter this to see 6th grade data that I want to look at from my current 6th grade students who are starting with me this school year. If they're current 6th graders in my class on my roster, what I really want to do is look back at their 5th grade data. So this is where it gets confusing. You're not selecting 6th grade, but you're selecting 5th grade because you want to see the data that was generated and attached to them from last year. So I'm going to select 5th grade, and now that's all that comes up. And I could also select subject or category. Category is the test type, or you could see, right away. It's a much shorter list, but I'm going to look at NJSLA data. So I'm going to click on NJSLA, and I'm the 6th grade language arts teacher right now. So I want to see how they did last year on their 5th grade ELA assessment, which took place in the 22-23 school year. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to student results. When I click on student results, I'm going to be able to see my class now. So this is my current roster of 6th grade students, and what I'm looking at right now is their 5th grade language arts scores. And so I can filter this in a bunch of different ways. Simply by clicking on it, I can see subscores, and there's really nothing you can do. You can't mess up any data. So, you can click on things and unclick on them. If I wanted to see all their subscores, I could click on this and say, okay. And now not only can I see their overall score in language arts, but I can see how they did on all these different sub-assessments. I can also filter it. Maybe I want to see only the students who were, let's say, approaching, partially approaching, or not meeting. Just want to get a glance of maybe students I might need to take a look at really early on. So by using this filter, I can select that feature, and I can see that here are some students that I might need to take a closer look at. Again, I'm going to have a lot of students. I should probably on this screen have all students in this grade level. And I can go through different pages. Actually, I guess it's anonymized, so that doesn't make sense, but disregard that. At any rate, there's another thing I can do, and I think this is the last helpful piece that I'll leave you with. So you can play around with all of these different things. You can look at this information presented in a different way. There's this pie chart over here, and if you click on it, it breaks it down for you. So here would be your current class. 59% of the students last year met or exceeded. 24 were approaching, so on and so forth. So you can look at what your class looks like as a whole. You can make that disappear by just re-clicking on it. So again, there's really nothing you can do on here that's going to change the data. It just is going to change the way you view it. So lastly, a feature that's interesting is if this were my class and I can see them now at a glance all together, but there are some students I want to take a closer look at, maybe some students who are either partially meeting a standard or not meeting the standard, which in this case is a proficiency level on NJSLA. I can click on those students, and from there, once I have, and I just selected a few, and from there, I can use this button here and go to the student hub. When I go there, only those students I selected are going to come up on this student hub for us to take a look at if I want to drill down deeper and see kind of what's going on with this child who didn't pass the assessment. Is that common? Is it an outlier? And I'm a 6th grade language arts teacher. I can open the language arts tab and I can see, yep, that doesn't look like it was an outlier. That's pretty consistent that this child here, even just by looking at the color, is somebody who is struggling with their language arts development. I can drill down in any of these and take a closer look their Lexile was or what percentile they fell in. So most things are just going to allow you to click through it and get a sense of, what further information you're looking for. If I'm done looking at that language arts data, I can move on to the next child. And I think so you're going to be able to go from child to child based on the kids that you selected. And I don't know why it's going backwards, but at any rate, and you can take a closer look at who those kids are. And again, is this a case where that score is an outlier score or pretty consistently that child has been demonstrating a need in the area of language arts? So I would say those are some of the key features when looking at this. I can go back to this screen just by clicking back on the tabs at the top. And I could also do things over here with a filter bar. So again, using these arrows, I can open that back up. And I can also, apply any of these filters to this information. I could look at the demographics of the student, could look at their program. So I get a sense immediately of who's on my roster. Are they gen ed students? Are they students with IEPs? It might be a student who is receiving gifted and talented support services. So you can look at that by identifying the program. And, again, any of these features that are interesting to see, you could display the chart so that shows up right away. You don't have to select it. It's just automatically on the top for you to get a quick glance. But this is one way to look at student information on LinkIt. And I think the last thing I just want to show you so that you can see is you can select 2 tests at one time. So again, I'm just going to focus on last school year, and I'm going to stick to being consistent. I'm a 6th grade language arts teacher, and I want to see that 5th grade data from last year. So I want to see not only their NJSLA scores for language arts, but I also want to see the end of year STAR scores. So I can click both of those. I could also filter it to just the subject I want to see. If I'm a language arts teacher, I just want to see language arts data. And so now I can say, all right, there's that 5th grade ELA and JSLA data. I want to see that. And I also want to see the end of year STAR scores from last year when they were in 5th grade. So that's right here. This was the spring of 5th grade. This was the last STAR score. I'm going to click on that as well. And now I can select, once again, student results, and it will populate it for me now with 2 rows. So now not only do I see the SLA data, but I also see, the SLA data, but I also see the STAR data. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to you, and reach out if you have any questions, but that's a quick overview.